The sleek black limousine glided to a stop outside the grand entrance of Grant Luxury Resort in Miami, its polished chrome catching the first tentative drops of rain that pattered against the windows like impatient fingers tapping for attention, signaling the approach of a storm that seemed to mirror the brewing unrest within Sophia Grant. The 38-year-old black CEO of Grant Luxury Resorts, whose empire spanned high-end properties across the globe, built from a single boutique hotel inherited from her father and transformed through her relentless vision, grit, and a defiance that had shattered glass ceilings in an industry dominated by those who didn't look like her. Today she arrived unannounced at this flagship location, her sharp mind already buzzing with troubling reports of declining guest satisfaction, plummeting online ratings, and financial discrepancies that whispered of deeper rot. Stepping out in her tailored power suit, a charcoal blazer and skirt that hugged her frame with understated elegance and heels that clicked with authority on the wet pavement, she adjusted her designer sunglasses against the gray sky, the humid Miami air clinging to her skin as she strode toward the entrance, where a doorman, a new face with a hesitant glance, barely nodded, his lack of recognition a subtle prelude to the indignity awaiting inside. The lobby was a masterpiece of opulence, with crystal chandeliers sparkling like captured stars, marble floors echoing every footfall with a polished sheen, and the air infused with the delicate scent of fresh orchids flown in from Hawaii, a testament to the luxury she had meticulously crafted. Yet Sophia sensed an undercurrent of discord, the staff's glances lingering too long, their whispers hushing too quickly as she approached the front desk, where manager Derek Voss stood, a middle-aged man with slicked-back hair and a forced smile that didn't reach his eyes, his gaze scanning her with a skepticism she knew all too well from years of navigating boardrooms where her presence was questioned before her credentials. "Good afternoon, ma'am. How can we assist you?" Derek's tone was polite, but laced with an undercurrent of doubt that pricked at Sophia's composure. "I'd like to check into the presidential suite," she replied calmly, her voice smooth as silk but firm, handing over her ID and black card, the weight of the platinum plastic a silent testament to her authority. Yet Derek took them with a raised eyebrow, examining the documents as if they were suspect artifacts. "These look in order, but I'll need to verify our suites are reserved for VIP guests, you understand." His words dripping with an implication that cut deeper than any overt insult, a subtle jab at her appearance, her blackness that assumed she didn't belong in the echelons of wealth she commanded. Sophia's jaw tightened, but she had learned long ago that patience was a weapon sharper than anger, honed through countless encounters where her success was met with disbelief. "Of course," she said evenly, her eyes locked on his, daring him to push further, but Derek, emboldened by his own biases, proceeded with exaggerated slowness, picking up the phone to verify, with a number that rang endlessly. His assistant, a young woman named Carla, whispering something in his ear, prompting his expression to harden. "I'm sorry, but there's an issue with your reservation. Perhaps you meant the standard room." The suggestion a thinly veiled insult that landed like a slap. Sophia's eyes narrowed, her voice steady but edged with steel. "No, the presidential suite check again." But Derek shook his head, his smile now a smirk. "Our policy requires additional verification for certain guests. You'll have to wait outside while we sort this. We can't have disruptions in the lobby." The audacity of his words hit like a physical blow, a deliberate attempt to demean her in the space she owned. "Outside? In the rain?" Sophia asked, her tone deceptively calm. Derek nodding with false sincerity. "Yes, ma'am. Company rules to protect our high-end clientele's comfort," his voice loud enough to draw curious stares from guests lounging in plush velvet chairs, their eyes darting between Sophia and the desk, some with pity, others with indifference, the humiliation burning like acid in her veins. But Sophia refused to let it show, her face a mask of serene control as she stepped out into the downpour that now fell in relentless sheets, soaking her suit and chilling her skin. Standing under the awning where rain splashed her polished shoes, she watched through the glass doors as white guests entered without question, welcomed with warm smiles and umbrellas extended by eager staff. One couple in designer casuals ushered straight to the VIP lounge with effusive greetings. "Welcome back, Mr. and Mrs. Langley. Your suite is ready," the doorman chirped, while Sophia stood drenched, treated as an intruder in her own domain. The injustice fueling a quiet rage that burned hotter than the tropical storm, her phone clutched in her hand but unused. She'd let this play out, let Derek and his team dig their own graves with every biased word and action, gathering every detail like ammunition for the reckoning she knew was coming, the storm outside mirroring the silent storm building within her, each cold drop a reminder of battles fought and won against prejudice. From her first internship, where she was mistaken for a secretary, to boardroom negotiations where her ideas were dismissed, until a white colleague echoed them. But this was different. This was personal. A betrayal in the house she built, brick by brick. From her father's struggling hotel into a global brand, her mind flashed to her early days, sleeping in the office to save costs, studying financial models by lamplight, proving her worth to investors who doubted a black woman could lead. Now here she stood, CEO and owner, reduced to an outsider by those drawing salaries from her vision, the rain intensifying as if urging her to act. But Sophia chose patience, her eyes scanning the lobby through the glass, noting the dynamics, the assistant Carla's hesitant looks, as if sensing the wrongness but too afraid to speak. A young black bellhop named Jamal avoiding eye contact, his shoulders hunched under the weight of complicity, the hypocrisy glaring as another guest, an older white man in a polo shirt, was waved through with a nod, no ID required. "Good to see you, sir," Derek called out, his voice dripping with deference. The contrast a stark indictment of the culture festering under her brand. Sophia's resolve hardened like steel forged in fire. This wasn't just about her, it exposed a rot in the company's soul, a toxic bias that had gone unchecked, undermining the values she'd poured into every detail. From the eco-friendly linens to the staff training programs meant to foster inclusion, her phone buzzed with urgent emails from the board about quarterly projections. But they faded into irrelevance. Her focus razor-sharp on the scene unfolding before her, planning her reveal with the precision of a chess master, she'd let Derek and his team expose their prejudices fully before striking the storm a fitting backdrop for the upheaval she was about to unleash. Minutes stretching like hours as she stood drenched, her suit clinging to her skin, hair matted under the weight of the rain, yet her posture unbowed, a queen in exile waiting for the moment to reclaim her throne, the lobby's warmth taunting her through the glass. But Sophia's mind was elsewhere, cataloging every slight, every glance, every whispered exchange among staff, the doorman's reluctance, Carla's nervous fidgeting, Jamal's averted gaze, all pieces of a puzzle she'd assemble into a case that would shake the resort to its core. She recalled her father's words, "Sophia, power isn't loud, it's strategic," a lesson learned in boardrooms and now applied in this rainy crucible. She'd expose the culture that allowed this, not just for herself, but for every employee and guest who'd ever been judged by appearance, the silent storm within her building to a crescendo, poised for the thunderclap that would change everything, her fingers tightening around her phone, ready to call Marcus, her brother and COO, to bring the full weight of their authority down, but not yet. She'd wait. Let the rain wash away the last of their illusions. The minutes ticking by as the storm raged, Sophia Grant standing resolute, the silent storm within her ready to erupt into a reckoning that would redefine her empire's legacy, the city's pulse fading under the rain's rhythm, a prelude to the truth's inevitable unveiling. In the quiet confines of his temporary hotel room overlooking the glittering lights of Chicago's Loop, Alexander Hale paced restlessly, the folded note from Lena Brooks clutched in his hand like a talisman of impending chaos that could unravel not just his business, but the fragile trust he was beginning to place in a stranger's warning, its words replaying in his mind with relentless clarity. "They're stealing everything, tips, supplies, even threatening us with firings or worse if we speak up. Manager Victor Kane is behind it all, including harassing guests for bribes. Help before it's too late. But be careful. They're watching everyone." The urgency in her handwriting, slightly slanted as if penned in a moment of stolen time between orders, gnawed at him like an itch he couldn't scratch, prompting a cascade of questions that swirled like the steam rising from his untouched cup of room service tea on the mahogany desk. Who was this woman daring to expose such dangers, and how had his oversight allowed a cancer like Victor to metastasize within the very heart of his empire? But his isolation from the ground floor had bred blindness. The evening air crisp as he made his way to Grant Park, the fountain's water jets dancing under the dusk sky like a playful distraction from the gravity pulling him toward an unknown alliance. Lena arrived wrapped in a simple scarf against the chill wind blowing off Lake Michigan, her face illuminated by the park lamps, revealing lines of exhaustion etched around her expressive eyes that held a depth of resilience forged from hardships he could only begin to imagine, eyes that scanned the surroundings with habitual caution before settling on him. "Why me?" Alexander asked, his voice low to blend with the ambient sounds of joggers pounding pavement and distant traffic rumbling like a city's heartbeat. Lena glanced around once more before responding, her melodic tone laced with a guarded vulnerability that hinted at layers beneath her professional facade. "You didn't look like the usual crowd. You observed everything, not just ordered and left, like you actually cared about the place beyond a quick caffeine fix," she explained, her words unveiling her own keen perception honed from years of reading patrons' moods to maximize tips while navigating the minefield of Victor's temper as they sat on a weathered bench overlooking the fountain's rhythmic sprays. Lena opened up about her life in fragments at first. A single mother to 8-year-old Jamal, her husband lost to a tragic construction accident 5 years prior that left her juggling grief and bills in a cramped apartment on the South Side where sirens wailed like nightly reminders of fragility. Her parents, immigrants from Nigeria who had instilled in her the unyielding value of education and integrity despite their own struggles with language barriers and low-wage jobs, but financial strains had forced her to drop community college courses in hospitality management just shy of completion. Now trapped in the cycle of serving lattes and dodging Victor's predatory advances, her voice cracking slightly as she recounted a late-night confrontation in the storage room where Victor cornered her, his breath reeking of stale cigarettes as he implied her shifts depended on extra cooperation, but she refused, enduring reduced hours that strained her ability to afford Jamal's after-school art classes he loved so much. Alexander listened intently, his own defenses melting under the weight of her authenticity that contrasted sharply with the polished executives he dealt with daily, sharing fragments of his past, in return a childhood marked by foster care after losing his parents young, scraping by until he flipped that first rundown motel into a profitable venture at 25, driven by a burning need to create safe havens he never had as a kid. But success had bred a profound loneliness, relationships fizzling under the relentless demands of his expanding empire. His last engagement ending when his fiancée prioritized social galas over his late-night strategy sessions, their vulnerabilities intertwining like vines climbing a shared trellis, forging an alliance born not merely from necessity but a mutual recognition of strength mirrored in each other's scars. They plotted their next steps with careful precision, Lena providing insider details like Victor's special deliveries after closing hours, suspicious boxes unlabeled and whisked straight to the back office under cover of night, Alexander vowing to deploy his resources discreetly, arranging anonymous corporate audits through a trusted third party while she agreed to plant a hidden recorder in the break room during her next shift, risks mounting as Victor's paranoia grew evident in his increased surveillance of staff lockers and whispered interrogations. But their meetings evolved beyond strategy, shifting from park benches to a quiet diner far from the hotel's prying eyes, where over shared slices of apple pie, Lena's homemade recipe passed down from her mother, bursting with cinnamon and warmth that evoked nostalgic flavors of his own lost family gatherings, conversations deepened into personal revelations, Alexander confessing his fear of failure, stemming from his mentor's betrayal by a partner who embezzled early funds, leaving him wary of blind trust in anyone, Lena admitting her guilt over Jamal's broader father figure, worrying her son deserved more than a mother perpetually exhausted from double shifts, their fingers brushing accidentally over the diner's formica table as they reached for the check. A spark igniting that neither had anticipated, eyes locking in a moment of raw connection amid the surrounding clatter of plates and chatter. "You're not alone in this anymore," Alexander whispered, his words a promise that bridged their disparate worlds with unexpected tenderness. But danger lurked in the shadows, a slashed tire on Lena's old sedan the next morning, serving as a stark warning that their actions hadn't gone unnoticed. Prompting Alexander to hire private security, shadowing her discreetly from afar, their bond strengthening through these trials as Lena invited him to her modest home for a simple dinner of jollof rice, spiced with memories of her childhood, Jamal's energy lighting up the living room as he proudly showed off his latest drawings of superheroes battling villains. "Mom says you're a friend helping at work," the boy said innocently, tugging at Alexander's heartstrings and reminding him of his own yearning for family ties severed too soon, the evening unfolding with laughter and unguarded stories, Lena sharing faded photos of her parents' village in Nigeria. Vibrant markets and communal feasts that shaped her sense of belonging, Alexander opening up about his first hotel flip, the thrill of turning despair into opportunity through sheer grit, the night ending with a tentative embrace at the door as Jamal slept soundly. "Be safe out there," she murmured, her concern wrapping around him like a shield, the alliance no longer confined to justice, but blossoming into something profoundly personal, a partnership where trust was earned through shared secrets and mutual vulnerability. Yet, as he left under the streetlight's glow, a suspicious car idling at the corner hinted at Victor's growing suspicions closing in, the web tightening around them like a noose, forcing quicker action and deeper reliance on each other, their unlikely union becoming a beacon piercing the encroaching darkness, the city's pulse mirroring their racing hearts as plans accelerated toward an inevitable confrontation that would test not just their resolve, but the fragile flame of love kindled in the midst of peril, the chapter weaving through revelations and intimacies that stood apart from the initial intrigue, delving into the relational depths where alliances transformed into lifelines, ensuring the narrative flowed fresh with emotional layers and budding romance that kept the tension alive without echoing the setup's mystery, the quiet hotel room's solitude now a distant memory as Alexander anticipated their next move. The bond with Lena, an anchor in the storm brewing ahead. Before we plunge into the storm's heart, subscribe for more alliances forged in fire rate 0 to 10 below. What unlikely partnership would you form to fight corruption? The partnership solidified as they delved deeper, Lena smuggling out photocopies of suspicious invoices during her lunch break, Alexander analyzing them in his suite with a team of forensic accountants via encrypted video calls, uncovering patterns of overbilling for phantom services, like premium cleaning supplies that never arrived, but funneled funds to shell companies linked to Victor's relatives, the counterfeit operation exposed as a sophisticated ring passing fake luxury items through the cafe's gift shop, profits laundered via inflated tip pools that shortchanged staff, each discovery a brick in the wall of evidence. But a close call when Victor nearly discovered the recorder hidden in a potted plant, Lena's quick thinking diverting him with a fake spill, saving the day but heightening her anxiety, Alexander arranging a safe fallback plan with a secure apartment if evacuation became necessary, their bond tested as Victor's harassment escalated to anonymous notes left in her locker. "Keep quiet or Jamal pays," the threat sending chills down her spine. But Alexander's support unwavering. "We'll protect him together," he assured during a midnight call, their conversations turning intimate, whispers of futures beyond the crisis. "When this ends, I want to show you the world," he said, Lena replying, "Just show me a life without fear," a kiss stolen under the cover of a late-night stakeout as they watched Victor meet a shady contact, passion flaring amid the adrenaline, but a pursuit ensuing when spotted, escaping narrowly through side streets, hearts pounding in unison, the embrace in safety electric with relief and desire, the chapter closing on a vow to end it all, their unlikely alliance a testament to love forged in fire's crucible, the city's shadows receding as dawn approached, promising resolution in the light. Number Chapter 3. The Lasting Reckoning. With the evidence compiled into an ironclad dossier, recordings of Victor's illicit deals whispered in dimly lit backrooms, ledgers revealing siphoned funds, routed to offshore havens connected to a sprawling counterfeit syndicate that masqueraded luxury goods as genuine cafe souvenirs, and sworn affidavits from silent staff, recounting years of intimidation that included racial slurs during inventories and coerced silence on guest complaints. Alexander Hale unleashed a corporate reckoning that struck like lightning across the Miami skyline, federal authorities raiding the resort at dawn with warrants gleaming under the rising sun. Victor Kane apprehended mid-conference call as he orchestrated another shady transfer, his face contorting from smug assurance to abject terror as agents cuffed him, the ring's tentacles severed in coordinated busts that netted warehouses brimming with fake designer wares valued at tens of millions, accomplices crumbling under interrogation and flipping for leniency. The trial's a spectacle in federal court, where Lena's testimony resonated like a clarion call, her voice unwavering as she detailed the daily degradations and threats that had kept her bound, her bravery earning standing ovations from the gallery and commendations from the judge who sentenced Victor to 20 years for racketeering, fraud, and extortion. The empire reformed in the aftermath with sweeping mandates, annual ethics audits conducted by independent firms, employee empowerment programs that included anonymous reporting apps and legal aid for whistleblowers, diversity quotas ensuring representation at all levels from housekeeping to executive suites, and community outreach initiatives that partnered with local nonprofits to provide job training for marginalized groups. Profits redirected to sustainable practices like eco-friendly renovations that reduced carbon footprints while boosting appeal to conscious travelers. The Miami resort revamped as a paragon of inclusivity, with art installations from Black artists adorning the walls and menus curated to celebrate multicultural cuisines that honored Lena's Nigerian roots alongside global flavors. Sophia's story going viral through media spotlights and documentaries that chronicled the rainy reckoning. Inspiring congressional hearings on workplace bias where she testified with poise, "Prejudice isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature if we allow it," her words sparking legislation for stronger anti-discrimination protections in hospitality. The foundation established in her name, funding scholarships for single parents pursuing careers in the industry, mentorship programs pairing veterans like Jamal's late father with aspiring entrepreneurs, and safe havens for workers fleeing abusive environments. Years later, the family expanded with the adoption of a sister for Jamal, their home a harmonious blend of luxury and humility on the outskirts of Chicago. Dinners filled with tales of the note that ignited it all. Alexander teaching Jamal the nuances of ethical leadership through interactive simulations of hotel scenarios, Lena innovating a line of cultural retreats that blended wellness with heritage education, reducing turnover rates across the chain by fostering belonging over mere employment, challenges like imitator scams in rival hotels or backlash from conservative investors met with unyielding unity. Their partnership a model for blending love and business, Sophia honored with Lifetime Achievement Awards, where she dedicated speeches to those who wait in the rain, knowing their time will come, the lasting reckoning a beacon for generations, proving that from humiliation blooms empowerment, the sun sets over Lake Michigan symbolizing closure and renewal, their legacy etched not in stone but in lives uplifted and systems transformed. If this reckoning resonated, Subscribe for more legacies born from storm rate 0 to 10 below. How would you reckon with bias in power? The reforms echoed globally. Sophia, keynoting international summits on inclusive leadership. The foundation expanding to vocational schools in underserved areas. Personal fulfillment blooming as Jamal pursued design inspired by his mother's resilience. The reckoning's true measure in the quiet gratitude of employees who now thrived, each property a testament to justice over exclusion. The stories end a new beginning under clear skies. Z Artifact. The artifact has the full story. But since the user asked for Chapter 3 as a long paragraph, I'll write it accordingly. With the corruption's roots exposed and culprits in custody, Sophia Grant turned her gaze to rebuilding, the reckoning not ending with firings but extending into a legacy of equity that reshaped Grant luxury resorts from the ground up, implementing sweeping reforms across all properties. Mandatory diversity training led by renowned experts who facilitated workshops on unconscious bias and cultural competency, required for every employee from entry-level housekeepers to C-suite executives, with certification tied to performance reviews. Employee councils formed at each location to give voice to staff concerns directly to leadership. Anonymous hotlines backed by independent investigators to report misconduct without fear of retaliation, and AI-driven monitoring systems integrated into HR software to flag patterns of discrimination in hiring, promotions, and guest interactions. Profits redirected to community programs supporting minorities in hospitality through scholarships for vocational training and mentorships, pairing aspiring leaders with seasoned professionals. The Miami resort revamped as a model of inclusivity, with art installations from Black artists adorning the walls to celebrate resilience and heritage, menus curated to highlight multicultural cuisines that honored diverse backgrounds, reducing turnover by fostering a sense of belonging that boosted morale and guest satisfaction ratings to all-time highs. Sophia's story going viral through media spotlights and documentaries, chronicling the rainy reckoning as a case study in ethical leadership, inspiring congressional hearings on workplace bias, where she testified with unyielding poise. Prejudice isn't a personal flaw. It's a systemic failure we must dismantle. With intention and accountability, her words sparking legislation for stronger anti-discrimination protections in service industries, reducing incidents nationwide as companies scrambled to emulate her model. The foundation established in her name funding safe havens for workers, fleeing abusive environments and legal aid for those challenging unfair practices. Years later, the family expanded with the birth of a daughter, their home a harmonious blend of luxury and humility, where dinners featured stories of the rainy day that ignited change. Alexander teaching Jamal the intricacies of ethical business through board games, simulating resort scenarios that emphasized fairness over profit. Lena innovating sustainable sourcing initiatives that reduced waste while empowering local farmers in Nigeria and beyond. Challenges like copycat biases in new hires or backlash from conservative stakeholders met with unwavering unity. Their partnership a living example of blending love and leadership to weather any storm. Sophia honored with Lifetime Achievement Awards, where she dedicated speeches to those who stand in the rain, knowing their worth defies the downpour. The lasting reckoning a beacon for generations, proving that from humiliation blooms empowerment when met with resolve. The sunsets over Miami beaches, symbolizing closure and new horizons, where justice flows like the ocean's tides, eternal and transformative. If empowered by this reckoning, subscribe for more tales of triumphant reform rate 0-10". The comments below. What's your vision for ethical legacy in the face of bias? Reforms echoed worldwide as Sophia keynoted global summits on inclusive business practices, the foundation expanding to international chapters offering grants for women-led startups in hospitality, personal life blooming with renewed bonds, as Jamal pursued art school on a scholarship inspired by his mother's creativity, the reckoning's true value in the quiet gratitude of employees who now thrived under fair systems, each resort a testament to justice over exclusion, the narrative closing on a family vacation where Sophia reflected that rain washed away the old, revealing the strength beneath, their legacy enduring as a symphony of change, harmonizing past pains with future promises. With the corruption's roots exposed and culprits in custody, Sophia Grant turned her gaze to rebuilding, the reckoning not ending with firings but extending into a legacy of equity that reshaped Grant Luxury Resorts from the ground up, implementing sweeping reforms across all properties. Mandatory diversity training, led by renowned experts who facilitated workshops on unconscious bias and cultural competency, required for every employee from entry-level housekeepers to C-suite executives with certification tied to performance reviews. Employee councils formed at each location to give voice to staff concerns directly to leadership. Anonymous hotlines backed by independent investigators to report misconduct without fear of retaliation, and AI-driven monitoring systems integrated into HR software to flag patterns of discrimination in hiring, promotions, and guest interactions. Profits redirected to community programs supporting minorities in hospitality through scholarships for vocational training and mentorships, pairing aspiring leaders with seasoned professionals. The Miami resort revamped as a model of inclusivity, with art installations from Black artists adorning the walls to celebrate resilience and heritage, menus curated to highlight multicultural cuisines that honored diverse backgrounds, reducing turnover by fostering a sense of belonging that boosted morale and guest satisfaction ratings to all-time highs. Sophia's story going viral through media spotlights and documentaries chronicling the rainy reckoning as a case study in ethical leadership, inspiring congressional hearings on workplace bias where she testified with unyielding poise. Prejudice isn't a personal flaw, it's a systemic failure we must dismantle. With intention and accountability, her words sparking legislation for stronger anti-discrimination protections in service industries, reducing incidents nationwide as companies scrambled to emulate her model, the foundation established in her name, funding safe havens for workers fleeing abusive environments and legal aid for those challenging unfair practices. Years later, the family expanded with the birth of a daughter, their home a harmonious blend of luxury and humility, where dinners featured stories of the rainy day that ignited change, Alexander teaching Jamal the intricacies of ethical business through board games simulating resort scenarios that emphasized fairness over profit, Lena innovating sustainable sourcing initiatives that reduced waste while empowering local farmers in Nigeria and beyond, challenges like copycat biases in new hires or backlash from conservative stakeholders met with unwavering unity. Their partnership, a living example of blending love and leadership to weather any storm, Sophia honored with Lifetime Achievement Awards where she dedicated speeches to those who stand in the rain, knowing their worth defies the downpour, the lasting reckoning a beacon for generations, proving that from humiliation blooms empowerment when met with resolve. The sunsets over Miami beaches symbolizing closure and new horizons, where justice flows like the ocean's tides, eternal and transformative. The reforms echoed globally as Sophia keynoted international summits on inclusive business practices. The foundation expanding to international chapters, offering grants for women-led startups in hospitality, personal fulfillment blooming with renewed bonds as Jamal pursued design, inspired by his mother's creativity, now leading creative teams in the resort's branding divisions. The reckoning's true value in the quiet gratitude of employees who now thrived under fair systems. Each property a testament to justice over exclusion, the narrative culminating in a family vacation to Nigeria where Lena reconnected with roots, Sophia sponsoring local tourism projects that boosted economies while preserving culture, the legacy enduring as their daughter grew, asking questions about the rainy day. Mommy changed the world. Alexander and Lena exchanging glances of pride, the chapter weaving triumph's threads into a tapestry of lasting impact, distinct from the intrigue of discovery or the tension of alliance, focusing instead on the expansive waves of reform and familial bliss that crowned their story with enduring inspiration. The sun rises over the Atlantic symbolizing endless new beginnings forged from the reckoning's fire. A final toast under starlit skies to the power of one voice rippling into a chorus of change, proving that true leadership isn't born in boardrooms, but in moments of unyielding stand against the storm. If this reckoning resonated with its vision of legacy and renewal, subscribe for more stories of transformative justice. Rate 0-10 the comments below. How would you build a legacy from a moment of injustice? Your reflections inspire our narratives. The aftermath brought waves of peace that washed over their lives like the lake's gentle tides. Alexander and Lena honeymooning in secluded retreats, where they discussed global expansions with ethics at the core, Jamal excelling in school on a scholarship tailored for children of resilient parents, now pursuing art with passion that mirrored his mother's, the foundation evolving into a nationwide network supporting thousands with counseling for harassment survivors and vocational training in hospitality, stories of redemption shared at annual galas, where former victims stood as speakers, their voices empowered by the platform Lena had fought to create, Alexander's mentorship of young entrepreneurs through incubator programs that prioritize diversity, Lena's bakery empire expanding into standalone shops that employed foundation graduates, each location a hub of community where free classes taught baking as therapy for stress, their home a sprawling yet cozy estate on the outskirts with rooms filled with Jamal's art and the daughter's toys, evenings spent stargazing where Alexander whispered, "That note was fate's whisper." Lena replying, "And our love its shout," the city's pulse syncing with their harmonious life, proving that from a single act of bravery blooms a garden of change, the chapter's reflective harmony, a crescendo of inspiration that promised endless horizons, far from the storm's rage or the alliance's fire, centering the blooming legacy that flowered from seeds of justice sown in rain-soaked soil, the final sunset a promise of perpetual dawn.